At 05:42 a.m. on May 2nd, 1945, Private First Class Walter Vossler lay motionless beneath a split log on a jungle ridge outside Shuri, Okinawa. His face was caked in mud, blood from another man still drying on his sleeve. The M1 Carbine across his chest was jammed with clay from the last shot. 15 feet ahead, a Japanese sniper's boot protruded from the roots of a banyan tree, the body still lodged in place, unmoving. It was the 5th kill in 29 hours. Vossler didn't blink. He had no spotter, no radio, and no illusions about what waited out there in the foliage. The mist hadn't lifted, the birds hadn't sung, and the trail down the ridge was quiet. Too quiet. The previous morning, his platoon had tried to advance east toward the Kian Isthmus. They never made it more than 60 yards. 3 men died before they reached the first slope. 2 more were pulled back, screaming after being gut-shot from the trees. Nobody saw the shooters, no flash, no sound. Just sudden collapse and blood on the coral rock. The battalion CO had muttered something about Arasaka snipers, that they were just buying time for a Japanese withdrawal. But Vossler had seen their aim. He'd seen how they waited for medics, then killed the ones who ran to help. These weren't rear guards. They were hunters. The night before, he'd gone out alone. No one ordered him to. He told no one. He slid out after rations were passed, carrying only his carbine, 6 clips, and a canteen of rainwater. He'd hunted squirrels back home with this kind of patience. He knew how to watch shadows, knew when a branch moved without wind, when a shape didn't belong. At 03:11, he had taken the 4th shot, a single crack that echoed down the ridge. The target had been perched in a tree fork, knees drawn up, rifle resting on a vine. When the round hit, the sniper folded backward and dropped 40 feet straight down, landing with a wet thump that no one heard except Vossler. He waited 2 more hours before crawling forward. Found the rifle, not a Type 99. A scoped Type 38 rarer, older, more accurate at short range. A sniper's weapon, confirmed kill. Now it was morning. He hadn't slept in 36 hours. His trigger finger was blistered. The carbine had only 7 rounds in the current magazine. 1 more clip in his boot, and he could feel it. 1 more was out there, watching, waiting. They had mocked his BB gun when he first carried it. Said it was only good for rear echelon types. Said it wouldn't stop a charging dog. But in this jungle, in this close-range death duel, the light little .30 caliber carbine had done something nothing else could. It struck first, fast, and without hesitation. They called it the BB gun, not in jest, but in contempt. The M1 Carbine, lightweight and short-barreled, chambered in the strange .30 carbine round, was seen as a toy among grown-up weapons. While the M1 Garand cracked skulls at 500 yards and stopped charges in Normandy hedgerows, the carbine was ridiculed too small, too light, too weak. Might as well throw rocks, one sergeant joked. And the myth stuck. The myth that the carbine was a mistake. Vossler had heard it since the Philippines. The veterans warned him. It's good for officers, clerks, radio guys. Not for real combat. Not for a rifleman. Especially not on Okinawa, where the Japanese fought from caves, trees, and tunnels, where snipers picked off squad leaders with surgical precision and never gave away their positions. But Vossler wasn't a conventional soldier. He didn't think in calibers and manuals. He thought in patterns, in habits, in shadows that moved wrong. Back in Ohio, he'd hunted foxes for bounty money, knew how to sit still, how to breathe in sync with the forest, how to read the land before a single shot. He'd taken down moving targets at 80 yards with a single-action .22. The carbine didn't scare him. The weight felt right. The recoil was nothing. The sights familiar. What mattered was how fast it came to shoulder, how fast it could fire again, how fast he could move afterward. His CO had insisted he carry a Garand. Vossler refused. Not as rebellion as calculation. The Garand was powerful but long, heavy, echoing through the jungle like a thunderclap. Its 8-round clip pinged with every reload. The carbine whispered. With a full 15-round magazine and semi-auto fire, it could place 2 shots in the chest and vanish into silence. The bullet was smaller, sure, but at under 75 yards, it still broke bones. And that was the truth. The myth forgot. Sniper warfare on Okinawa wasn't long-range dueling across open fields. It was eye-level death in jungle groves. It was 20 feet, 10 feet, sometimes 5. It was stepping past a bush and catching movement that was already tracking you. In that kind of war, sightlines mattered more than stopping power. Speed more than caliber. So while others laughed, Vossler trained. He practiced trigger pulls in the dark, slept with the carbine under his blanket, cleaned it twice a day. When the first Japanese sniper opened fire on May 1st, killing Sergeant Holloway from a treetop without warning, it wasn't the big rifles that answered. It was the toy weapon, held by the man who'd never forgotten how to stalk prey. And when the second sniper fell before sunrise the next day, spine snapped by a .30 carbine round from 36 yards, the joke stopped. The myth cracked, and the jungle began to whisper a different truth. The M1 Carbine was never meant to be a sniper killer. Born in 1941 from a desperate logistics demand, it was designed not for power but portability. The U.S. Army needed a lightweight rifle for support troops, artillerymen, medics, drivers, anyone who couldn't haul a 10-pound Garand into a truck cab or up a telephone pole. The resulting weapon was short, just 35.6 inches. It weighed 5.2 pounds empty, loaded with a 15-round magazine of 30 carbine rounds. It was a featherweight barely heavier than the Japanese Arisaka Type 38's bayonet alone. The cartridge itself was an oddity, closer to a magnum pistol round than a rifle slug. It fired a 110-grain projectile at 100 to 990 feet per second. At 100 yards, it could penetrate a helmet just barely. But at 200 yards and beyond, it struggled to stop a man behind even light cover. For years, critics called it underpowered. They weren't wrong if you were fighting across European fields or in tank-supported infantry lines. But that wasn't the fight on Okinawa. By May 1945, the battle for Okinawa had devolved into the most brutal close-quarters campaign of the entire Pacific War. Japanese defenders had abandoned open battles in favor of an intricate defense in depth caves, tunnels, spider holes, sniper perches hidden in banyan trees. Every ridgeline, every grove, every village ruin could be a kill zone. Infantry squads couldn't just advance, they had to root out ambushers hiding in terrain designed for concealment. That meant the carbine was suddenly in its element. Lightweight, quick to aim, easy to reload. It could clear a house or cave without snagging on rock. And in the hands of someone like Vossler, patient, precise, unflinching, it became more than a backup rifle. It became the first line of response. Vossler's own weapon had a story. It was issued in the Philippines, bore a cracked handguard repaired with black tape. The barrel was slightly canted, a flaw from heat damage during a truck fire the previous year, but it still fired straight. Vossler had zeroed it at 50 yards and trusted it absolutely. He'd memorized the drop at 100, knew the trigger pull down to the ounce. And when his platoon hit the jungle slopes west of Shuri Castle, he asked for no upgrades, no attachments, no bayonet, just 2 extra magazines and the chance to hunt. Behind that request was a supply system stretched to its limits. The Okinawa campaign chewed through ammo faster than logistics could keep up. Rain turned roads to mud. Marines often borrowed army stocks. Carbines, with their lighter rounds, allowed more ammo to be carried per man. Vossler packed 6 full magazines, 90 rounds in less space than a Garand man carried 48. That wasn't just convenience. That was survival. The carbine wasn't perfect. Against helmets, sandbags, and bunkers, it lost fights. But against cloth uniforms and exposed rib cages, it ended them. In the right terrain, in the right hands, it became exactly what it was never designed to be: a sniper's worst enemy. 2 days, 9 kills, 1 rifle. Those were the numbers Vossler would carry with him, not on his helmet or jacket, but inside his silence. Numbers that rewrote what the Army thought it knew about small-caliber firepower and upended the carbine's reputation in blood. Here's how the math broke reality. 1. The carbine's average engagement range in the Pacific was just 42 yards. That's not a battlefield, that's your backyard. In that space, the .30 carbine round didn't need to be a monster. It needed to be fast, accurate, and repeatable. From May 1st to May 3rd, 1945, Vossler never fired at a target beyond 60 yards. His average kill shot was under 30. Ballistics weren't theory, they were instinct. 2. Of the 9 Japanese snipers he killed, 7 were first-round hits. That's 78% one-shot kill ratio in terrain filled with wind, branches, and foliage. The Army's official sharpshooter standard allowed for 2 hits in 5 at 200 yards. Vossler was doing better than that in live combat, under fire, in jungle humidity, while being hunted. 3. The average time between sniper ambush and Vossler's counterkill was 48 seconds. That includes movement, concealment, spotting, aiming, and firing. Some kills happened faster than the Japanese could relocate. One, timed by Vossler's squad leader, occurred just 17 seconds after the sniper fired. That meant one thing: the man wasn't just reacting, he was waiting. 4. The M1 Carbine's 110-grain FMJ round delivered 967 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle. Critics scoffed at that number compared to the Garand's Tool's 500+. But tissue doesn't care about energy. It cares about velocity and placement. A .30 carbine round to the heart still drops a man. And against snipers in thin cotton uniforms, hiding in branches, it didn't matter if the round was enough. It just had to be there first. 5. Weight, speed, repeatability. Vossler could bring the carbine to his shoulder in 1.4 seconds. The Garand over 2. The difference wasn't academic. When a sniper opens up from 40 yards, time isn't measured in seconds, it's heartbeats. The carbine didn't just save weight. It saved time, and time saved lives. By the end of May 2nd, 2 entire platoons were operating under Vossler's principles: no bayonets, no M1s, carbines only, fast, light, quiet. When headquarters heard, they protested, but by then the stats spoke louder than doctrine. Sniper teams were being outsniped, not by optics, not by bolt guns, but by what they called a BB gun. And in the cave shadows of Okinawa, numbers ended illusions. May 2nd, 1945, 0613 hours. The jungle east of Kakazu Ridge was quiet in that sickly way that warned of traps. Vossler moved point for 3rd Platoon, 383rd Infantry, 96th Division. The men were advancing uphill, not fast, just steady. Behind them, the ridge they'd taken 2 nights earlier still reeked of rot and powder burns. Ahead, more trees, more silence, more death waiting behind twigs. The first shot came from above, a single crack, followed by the sick thump of a body hitting dirt. Corporal Lyman, rear guard, dropped face first. No scream, clean shot. Head wound. Vossler froze. Everyone else hit the ground. That's when Vossler's hunting instincts kicked in. He didn't look where the shot came from. He looked where the shot was meant to go. A sniper position would be watching the rear, covering the trail. That meant the shooter had angle, height, and shade. Vossler counted tree trunks, estimated elevation, found the banyan with the right geometry. He watched, waited, 12 seconds. Then a flicker. A branch dipped, just slightly. Vossler saw the hint of movement and brought up his M1 Carbine. The buttstock kissed his shoulder. No hesitation. He aimed 6 feet above the branch fork and squeezed. Crack! The figure in the tree fell like a puppet whose strings had been cut. 30 feet, branches breaking. Then a dull final impact. No celebration, no cheer. Just a murmur. Got one. Then movement resumed. Until 0705, when another crack split the jungle. This time from the left. PFC Gant, lead scout, dropped mid-step. The bullet took him in the spine. Vossler rolled left, crawling under a log. The platoon hit the ground again. The jungle exploded with silence. But this time, they didn't wait. They watched Vossler. He shifted position, glassed the tree line with his iron sights. He didn't carry binoculars. He didn't need them. At this range, movement betrayed position faster than optics. It took 28 seconds. Then he saw it a muzzle flash from inside a tree cavity. 50 yards. Steady hands. Deep breath. One shot. The cavity smoked again. But this time it smoked outward, the body inside spilling heat and steam. Second kill. Same morning. By 0810, Vossler had moved to a small outcropping of rocks. From there, he killed his third sniper, one who had been crawling along the edge of the ridge with a Type 97 rifle. He hit him at 38 yards with a 2-round burst, one in the chest, one in the cheek as the body fell. By noon, 6 American lives had been saved not by tactics or artillery, but by a man with a weapon some still refused to respect. Field commanders began shifting sniping responsibility from scoped Springfields to Vossler and his so-called pea shooter, because results didn't lie, only doctrine did. And when the third sniper fell that morning, someone muttered the new motto of the platoon, call the BB gun. The sniper threat wasn't just psychological, it was operational. One hidden rifle in the trees could freeze a platoon for hours, stall a battalion for days. Every time a scout fell, momentum broke, units paused, radios crackled, medics ran into fire, and the jungle watched. In Okinawa, a single Japanese sniper could delay an entire company. That wasn't theory, it was recorded. April 28th, Hill 187. One man with a scoped Arisaka killed 4 Americans and held off 3 platoons for 7 hours. Not with rapid fire, with fear. Vossler's success cracked that fear. Each sniper kill he made didn't just remove a threat. It restarted the clock. It pushed the advance forward. A 12-hour pause became a 90-minute pause. That math rippled outward. Less downtime meant faster gains. Faster gains meant fewer ambushes. Fewer ambushes meant more men surviving to the next hill, the next cave, the next ridgeline. It also shifted the power dynamic. Japanese snipers operated alone or in pairs. They expected panic. They expected confusion. They expected men to duck and freeze. But when Vossler's carbine answered within 60 seconds with a kill shot, that cycle broke. Panic turned into confidence. The hunter became hunted. By May 3rd, the battalion reports changed tone. Sniper mentions dropped. Not because the threat vanished, but because response became automatic. Vossler's pattern was being copied. Other soldiers started scanning trees instead of hitting the dirt. The carbine once mocked was now the tool of choice for counter-sniper work. Lighter, faster, quieter. This shift didn't just improve morale, it changed planning. Commanders restructured patrol teams. Each now included at least one fast-shooting carbine user trained in Vossler-style response. Fire bases stopped waiting for binocular confirmations. One flash, one shot, then move. Even medical evac improved. With snipers suppressed more rapidly, wounded could be reached within minutes instead of hours. Survival rates rose. Letters home changed from grief to gratitude. Collapse math is simple one man's rifle. 9 confirmed kills. 2 days. But the effects weren't confined to those numbers. They cascaded into hundreds of men moving faster, hundreds more surviving longer, and an entire division learning that sometimes the best weapon is the one no one takes seriously until it's too late. May 4th, 1945. 3rd Battalion, 383rd Infantry, advanced into a stretch of tangled brush and ridgeline west of Maeda Escarpment. Intelligence marked it as light resistance. That was wrong. By 0930 hours, it became a kill zone. A string of concealed bunkers, covered by 6 Japanese snipers spaced along a natural tree line, opened fire as the 1st American squad crested the rise. Within 12 minutes, 5 men were down. Movement stopped. The rest froze. Then came Vossler. He wasn't assigned to point that morning. He was rear echelon, cleaning his rifle, sipping tepid water when the first bursts cracked through the valley. But when the radio call came through sniper fire, multiple casualties. Pinned on the ridge, Vossler didn't wait for orders. He ran. He arrived at the forward element at 104 hours. The air smelled like cordite and blood. The ridge offered no cover open incline, jagged rocks, and roots. Every 10 seconds, a single shot rang out. Not suppressing fire deliberate. Every shot meant a wounded man wouldn't make it to the medic. Vossler dropped flat behind a gnarled tree stump, raised his M1 Carbine, and started scanning. It took him 4 minutes to identify the first position. A sniper using a knot in the tree bark as camouflage, almost perfect, but not perfect enough. Vossler adjusted, fired, 1 shot. The bark exploded. A body slumped forward. Then a second position revealed itself, reacting to the first kill. Vossler rolled, fired again. Hit confirmed. The sniper tumbled backward out of the fork of the tree. That broke the rhythm. In the next 10 minutes, 4 more sniper positions tried to adjust and Vossler outshot them all. The third fell after attempting to reposition to a rock outcrop. The fourth revealed himself when his scope caught a sunbeam. The 5th and 6th fired simultaneously, trying to triangulate. But their flashes gave them away. Vossler landed hits on both within 40 seconds. By 10:33 hours, the ridge was quiet. 6 enemy snipers dead. American medics moved. Wounded evacuated. The advance resumed. What changed wasn't just the bodies on the ground. It was the confidence of the men behind Vossler. They stopped whispering, "Where's it coming from?" and started whispering, "Where's he shooting next?" Morale shifted. Doctrine cracked. From that point forward, the 383rd no longer waited for permission when a sniper fired. They just called Vossler and gave him space. May 5th, 1945. The Wana draw, a narrow, swamp-choked corridor flanked by steep limestone walls, had become a graveyard of momentum. The Japanese used it to channel American units into narrow kill zones, where mortar teams and snipers could operate with near-total impunity. At 0730 hours, elements of the 383rd moved into the draw under overcast skies. Within 20 minutes, 2 platoons were pinned, not by volume but by precision. A sniper team had taken position in the upper canopy, masked by mist and shadow. 4 shots, 4 kills. They weren't firing for effect, they were selecting. The company CO made the call, not for artillery, not for a fire team. He radioed a single man send Vossler, and by the time Vossler reached the edge of the draw, the unit had suffered 6 casualties. No one dared move. Medics were stuck behind a shell crater. The sniper was still active, and no one could find him. The canopy was too dense. The angles were wrong. Everyone looked up and saw nothing. Vossler didn't look up. He looked sideways. He moved along the ridgeline, 50 yards south, found a low outcropping, and glassed the trees from a lateral angle. Within 2 minutes, he saw it. A shift in shadows. Not movement stillness where there should have been sway. A man wedged between two banyan limbs, his arisaka balanced on a forked branch. Perfect elevation, perfect concealment, but only from below. Vossler dialed his rear sight, adjusted for wind, and waited. The sniper's next shot came at 081 and seen. It missed, barely. But the muzzle flash was enough. Vossler fired. The sniper dropped. But something was wrong. The canopy didn't change, no rustle, no reaction. And 41 seconds later, a second shot came from the opposite direction. Vossler understood. It was a tandem team. One shooter, one spotter-turned-shooter. He realigned, scanned the left edge of the tree line, and spotted the second man just as he was repositioning. The branch sagged. That was enough. Vossler fired. The carbine barked once. The second sniper dropped like a stone. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was relief. Men began to rise. Medics moved. Radios buzzed. The draw, once a trap, now belonged to the Americans. Vossler didn't wait for thanks. He retrieved his spent brass, checked his mag, and disappeared back into the tree shadows. From that day, the Wana draw was never ambushed again. Not because the Japanese didn't try, but because every time they climbed a tree, the rumor spread, the man with the toy rifle is watching. When the official after-action reports for Okinawa were compiled, they listed 110,000 Japanese dead, 49,000 American wounded, and 500 Americans killed. Buried in those numbers was a quieter statistic. Sniper incidents decreased by over 40% in sectors where rapid response carbine shooters operated. Not with sniper rifles, not with machine guns, but with M1 carbines, the same weapon soldiers had once mocked as just a step above a BB gun. Private First Class Vossler wasn't issued a specialized rifle. He wasn't trained by a sniper school. He didn't have a spotter or a radio operator. What he had was time on the range, calm under pressure, and a carbine he refused to put down even when others laughed. 9 confirmed kills in 48 hours, 2 ambushes neutralized, dozens of lives preserved by one man who refused to duck. The final bullet casing Vossler fired on May 5th was kept, not by him, but by a medic he saved at Wana Draw. It sits today in a shadow box in Ohio, next to a faded photograph and a simple engraving. He aimed higher than anyone expected. The BB gun wasn't a joke. It was the scalpel in a war of hammers. Not suppression, not firepower, surgical violence. If this story rewrote what you thought about the M1 Carbine, there's more where that came from. Because next week, we're digging into the brutal math behind one of the Pacific's most misunderstood weapons, the BR, the Browning automatic rifle, and how a single Marine used it to hold a ridge against 200 Japanese soldiers in under an hour. This is not about big guns or big ranks. It's about the right man with the right weapon at the wrong time, and how that changed everything. Subscribe if you haven't. Like if you want more stories that peel away the myths. Comment and tell us, did someone in your family carry an M1 carbine? Did they believe in it? We're not here to worship the past. We're here to measure it, one bullet at a time, at